Yeah, hi and welcome everybody. My name is Mikael and I will shortly introduce myself and my colleague here, Fabian. Mikael Johansson has the role of Customer Success Manager at PDS Vision. I've been around this industry for 20 years, approximately, from the beginning on the business consultant side. So I've been involved in many different companies here. Fabian?
Yes, my name is Fabian Laerum. I work as a marketing specialist here at PDS Vision. Been with the company for approximately 7 years, and in my previous role as an account manager, I've been in different dialogues with different companies about PLM, for example. So hope you're going to find this webinar very valuable going forward. So that's short about me.
Perfect. So as said, the topic for today's session is an introduction to Windchill, and we have set up the following agenda for this upcoming 45 minutes. So we will start off by introducing you to the concept of PLM, and we will do that by defining what a product and how a product lifecycle typically could look like. We will also shortly describe the challenges that companies have today if they don't have a proper system like this. We will then dig into the main topic of today, the Windchill course, and how that can support you and your company. And in that session, we will also do a short demonstration where we'll get a quick overview of the look and feel in Windchill. But let's kick this off by having a look at the concept of a product. So in this presentation, we will use this gaming mouse as an example. As a consumer or end user, as I am, I would think as a product of the gaming mouse, basically the device that I'm using when I'm sitting by my computer and playing games. But actually what I need to buy is this. It's a box or package which contains the mouse, but also some other things. So let's have a look inside the box, what's inside. And of course there is a mouse, but there are also some USB receiver and adapters. That could be a charging cable. That could be some spare parts. Like in the example, we have the side buttons of the mouse. There can be a sticker, for example, with the logo. Most likely some kind of a user manual and some information sheet about safety or compliance and warranty. So this box and all of its contents, it's what the, let's say, gaming mouse company designs, manufacture, sells, and deliver. And that is what we would call the end product. So in the journey of taking our gaming mouse from an idea to a finished product that the customer can buy and use, there's actually a whirlwind of activities behind the scenes. It's not just about designing the mouse in CAD. Instead, there is a series of carefully managed stages that the product passes. From the initial spark of innovation to meticulous design, rigorous governance, and even simulation to fine-tune performance. And each of these phases are really important. And after the design is done, production is then planned and executed, and followed by a strategic marketing and sales effort. And this life cycle is the unseen but critical path that our gaming mouse will travel before you can, as an end user, experience the precision of using it when you play games. But even after the purchase and use, the product lifecycle continues. Dedicated service ensures longevity and customer satisfaction. And when it's time to retire a product, we ensure responsible recycling. So let's dig a little bit deeper into this life cycle. If we start off in the innovate phase, where various business systems, tools are utilized to facilitate creativity, idea management, and initial concept development. Next, we have the design phase. This is where we transform ideas into detailed plans and blueprints. And this phase, I would say, is critical for shaping the final product. We can have a govern phase. This is where we ensure that the development process stays aligned with the company policies, with industry standards and regulatory requirements. Continue on to the test and validation phase. Here we can use various simulation tools to test, analyze, and validate the product design and functionality before moving on to actual manufacturing. This is where we identify potential issues, where we can optimize the design and reduce the need for physical products. Then it's finally time for the manufacture of the product. And this phase involves the actual production process, where the digital design is transformed into physical products. The systems used here are crucial for ensuring manufacturing efficiency, quality, and scalability. In the sell phase of the product lifecycle, we need to effectively market and distribute the product to all of our customers. And this, I would say, is where we generate revenue and achieve market success. Moving on to service phase and customer care phase. And here we will a little bit shift focus to more provide ongoing support and maintenance for the product. Being successful here maintains customer satisfaction. It will build our brand and potentially generate even more revenue. Finally, the product is getting retired or even perhaps recycled. In this phase, the focus is on responsibly manage the end of the product life. This is important for sustainability, ensuring environment compliance, and to continue maintain our positive brand image. So if we look at all of these phases of the life cycle, you can imagine there is a lot of product related data created, and there are many processes that you need to follow along this complete life cycle.
Mikael, just one question. I mean, I understand for sure that this would generate a lot of data. And when it comes to that, what would you say are the biggest challenges to handle all this product information and data?
Yes, that is typically the questions we get from customers. I would say that to find the information and to be able to reuse information, that is one thing. Another thing is around collaboration. How can we collaborate around our data? And that would be both internally and externally. And the last thing would be around trust. How can I be sure that the data that I'm looking at is correct? And next phase, I mean, I need to have correct data to make the correct decisions. So I hope, that would be, and as I said, that is really what we can see with our customers, that if they don't have a good system in place, and with that I would say meaning a PDM or PDM system, this will end up having all this data scattered across various platforms and saved in many locations. So, and that will really make it a challenge to consist and to have control of the versions and also the access of it. But as you can understand, we have a solution for this. As mentioned, a well-implemented enterprise PLM system can actually act as this central repository for your product data. And that will initially ensure that every decision are made on the most accurate, up-to-date data. And also, if we have an integrated approach of this, that will ensure that the product development process is as efficient and effective as possible. Yeah.
Just top of mind, but I mean the big question. I mean, why do you see companies are using PLM, or the biggest benefits with the big why there? What do you say about that? The big question.
But I think a little bit coming back to my previous answer. I think first of all, they would like to get control of your data and to make sure you can trust that data. And the second thing is, I would say, is around the collaboration. I mean, to make sure that other than traditional R&D users have access and can view the data at the correct time. And also, I mean, to expand that to downstream uses like the quality and procurement, etc. And last thing I would say is around integrations to facilitate this digital thread and to make sure that we keep that thread integrated from PLM down to ERP and continue on. Yeah, I hope that was a little bit answer, Fabian.
Yeah, no, it did.
Yeah, good. So finally, time to introduce Windchill. So PTC Windchill, that is a product lifecycle management system that is valid for the complete enterprise. So if we take a little bit look into what Windchill really is. So Windchill is an object-oriented PLM system that can store, manage, and control, I would say, all form of digital product information. And that would, for example, be parts and bonds. It would be documents like specification and requirements. It is for sure CAD data. And with that, I mean both mechanical and electronic CAD data. Any type of technical documentation like manual or instructions. And also change information. So control data, but on top of that, Windchill also support your business by being able to automate the product development processes. And we do that by using a comprehensive workflow engine. So typically, these processes could include a workflow, could include a review and approval process. The change process mentioned above. There are workflows for releasing products to manufacturing. And the last example is around new part introduction. Having workflows to support your processes around that. So if we take a little bit deeper look into what data that we can add and manage in Windchill, there are some main objects type that is good to know about. First is around documents. And a document in Windchill, that could be an object that contains any type of file. So it could be a PDF, Microsoft Word, an image, movie, zip file, etc., or things like that. And worth mentioning is that for Microsoft Office, there is a direct integration from, for example, Word to Windchill, which is called desktop integration. I mentioned CAD. And with that, once again, both mechanical and electronical CAD. And for the major mechanical CAD systems, like Creo, SolidWorks, CATIA, Inventor, and Next, there's a direct integration to the Windchill. So you can check in your data from the CAD tool direct into Windchill. We have the change objects, and Windchill have objects to support that. And to this object, we associate or relate a workflow. And that, by doing that, we can support the whole change process from the phase where we identify a problem to the decision if we should continue with the change or not, to the actual implementation. And then we have the part. And here I will actually change slide to this because I would like to dig a little bit deeper into the part. The part is fundamental in Windchill for managed product information. And you can see this as a digital representation of an actual object. So a part can represent a single component like a screw, or it can represent more complex assembly or product like the gaming mouse we mentioned before. But it can also be a non-physical item like software or firmware. So you can see it as a container that gathers all the relevant information of a specific object. It doesn't have a file, a content file itself. Instead, we link other objects to this container or this part. And the part is also the fundamental building block for creating product structures and build of materials. So, for example, the E1 and the M. Good. Just shortly before we go into the demo, I will just shortly describe how Windchill control and store this data, whether it's a document, CAD, or part. So Windchill uses something that is called context, and a context is a framework that helps you to organize your product data and to apply access control. And within each context, there is a team, and the team has a set of roles applied to it. And to each role, we can then assign a specific user. And then we have the lifecycle, different lifecycle states. So each of these objects that I mentioned has a lifecycle associated to it. And that can also control if I can see or not, or if I can create or modify an object or not. So for example, if I has been assigned the role manufacturing engineer in the product called gaming mouse, I may only have view access right to a drawing if it is in release state. Otherwise, I cannot see it. So if it's still in work, it's not available for me. So that is how we control the data. Good. Let's skip the slides and move on to my demo. Yeah, I hope you see Windchill as a switch here. Otherwise, you need to scream, Fabian.
Oh, we see it.
You see it? Good.
Yeah.
So the purpose of this demo is not to go deep dive into specific functionality, because we just don't have time for that. Instead, I will give you more like an overview of the look and feel, how it works, and hopefully you can see how the data look like and how it's linked to each other, and how we can find it. So first of all, what you should notice is that this is a web application. So you access the Windchill system through a web browser where you log in. And up in the left corner, you can see that I'm currently logged in as this user Pat. And as mentioned before, this user is then added to a specific role. And that role gives you different type of access. So if you can see or create or modify data. Right now we're looking at an information page on one of these objects. So now it's not the first time I'm in this system, so I happens to know that this is the top product end item of this snowmobile product. This information page looks quite similar wherever you are in the system, even if it's a document, part, or CAD. There are different tabs that contains information about this specific object. So for example, on this details page, we have different type of metadata or attributes related to this object. So we have a name and number, for example. The number, can I mention, that's the unique identifier in the system. That can only be one object, one part that has this number. And yeah, below here is other system attributes that we can see. You can also add custom attributes that is specific for your company. This layout is configurable, so we can set up the look of this layout so it suits you the best. But let's switch to another tab. We, for example, have the history tab, and Windchill stores every change that we make. So we have full traceability of the history. Yeah, you can see that happen a lot to this specific object, and you can navigate, if you like, you can navigate to one specific version of the object from here, or you could perhaps compare. So if I would like to compare revision B to revision A, I can do it here. Then we have the structure tab, and I think that most of the time in this demonstration I will stay here, because here you will find a lot of information. So in the structure tab, it's divided into two fields. You can see on the left we have the structure itself, and on the right we have information. And the information on the right is depending on what I select. So if I select another object in the structure, I see information about that. So quite similar to what we saw on the details page, but here I can see it if I drill down to childs or component within this product. This structure or product part structure is built up of parts. And now I have created like different subtypes of the parts and given them a unique icon, just for clarification for me. But the default icon for a VT part is this gray cogwheel. And you build these structures by adding, creating like uses and used by links in the system. And you can do that in two ways. Either you build it from bottom up using CAD, meaning that you create CAD parts, CAD assemblies in your CAD tool, you check them into the Windchill, and that will automatically build this structure. It's like a bottom-up approach. Or you can have a more top-down approach, which means that you create your parts manually here and you manually add them to the structure. And you can do that in the Users tab here. So I can build structures by hand here. Or you can import structures using Excel spreadsheets. Or you can have like a combination of these two approaches, and that is actually what we have done here. So I have a top-down approach down to the system and module, but from each variant and below there is, if I switch the documents, a CAD model behind. So from this level and down, it's driven by CAD. So to be able to make a change, I go to the CAD tool, make the change, check it in. Good. One thing that is important to know about these structures is they are configurable. And what that means is that we need to apply a specification, configurable specification to this structure. And by default, that is the latest configuration. So I see the latest version of each object in this structure here. And you can change configuration by applying different filters. So if I would, for example, you can see there are some objects here that are in ongoing change, so they have a different status. But I would like to see how the structure looked like if I set a configuration like latest released. So I can use filters for that. Here I have I've saved a filter for this. So I change filter, and now it shows or displays the latest released version of each object. Or you could, for example, change filter and said, maybe I've created a baseline. The baseline is like a snapshot at a certain point of time. So I would like to apply this baseline to the structure, and it will filter and show the structure according to that baseline. Great. Let's jump back to latest version of it. And I can shortly just mention that these tables or columns are configurable, so you can save different configurations of the view of this structure. You can add columns with different information, and you can switch by these views here. Good. As mentioned in the presentation, the part, which these are, doesn't have any content itself. Instead, we'll link objects to them. So, for example, the CAD documents. So once again, if I select this variant of the chassis and have a look at the Documents tab, I can see that there are 2 CAD documents associated to this part. So the part gathers all related CAD documents to this part with a link. And if I select another one, let's see, we can take, for example, this one, the snow guards, which also have a CAD file, but it also have a document associated to it. And in this case, it's some kind of, I think it's kind of a specification that I've added as a describing document of this part. And when it comes to documents, there are 2 types of document. They are either describing or referenced. Perfect. One word about reports. I usually say that just get the data into the system, because then we can start use it, but we can also gain KPIs from it. So there's a report tool in Windchill where you can create your own custom reports, but there are also, like say, a standard set of reports that we can use. For example, BOM reports. So if I select the component here and said that I would like to see first level or single level BOM of this, I can create a BOM, which can be evaluated or exported to any type of format. And these tables are also, of course, configurable, so you can add and remove columns as you wish. Good. I would say one great capability in Windchill is the visualization. So since we are using CAD here, we put a lot of effort in our CAD creating great designs, and when we check in them, these CAD models are published to a lightweight format, and that can then be visualized within Windchill. So you don't, in order to see a visual representation of the product, you don't need to go to the CAD tool. You can use Windchill and the visualization here. And this is actually linked to the structure, so it's built on demand. So depending on how you look at the structure, with which configuration you have, the visualization is updated. You can also see the link between the structure and the model here. If I select something, it's highlighted in the visual tab and vice versa. So if I select something here, it should be highlighted in the structure. So for me, this is great information, great capability that is really strong. And actually, there are also included in Windchill something called Creo View, which is a lightweight tool for also visualize, but you can do a lot more. So I can, from Windchill, I can open this. Let's do it again. I can open this structure in Creo View. And I just show this because you can do a little bit more here. You can, for example, hide components. You can move, for example, in order to just investigate and find information that is relevant for you. There are tools for making sections. You can actually drag this. If I get the error, I can drag the section here. And there are tools, for example, for measuring. So if I would like to measure something, let's see, I would like to know the distance between that surface and that one, and we can measure. And it's exact the same surfaces as in CAD, so it's exactly this dimension. There are also tools for adding annotations like text and markups, and this can actually be saved back into Windchill as an annotation and can be used for example, for the change purpose. Good. I think we need to move on. I will actually switch to another type here, the tank, which was part of the snowmobile, and I will go to this change tab. As a user, I can actually see that by this icon up here that this part is ongoing change. The state is also indicated that, but this icon indicates that there's an ongoing change for this. So if I change the change tab here, you can see all the related change objects. And as I mentioned, there are objects to support the complete change process, from identify problems, that's a problem report. Then we have the change request, which is the object and workflow for investigating and justify the change. And then we have something called a change notice. And the change notice is actually the implementation of each change. So I click the link to the change notice object. You see it's similar to the part with tabs with the information. So it's a short description of the change. Since here we will actually do some job, there are activities planned in order to do this change. So in this case, the design needs to be updated. And after that, someone needs to have a look at the manufacturing plan. So there are two activities that must be done in order to implement this change. And I can see that the first one, that is already done by Dave. Good work, Dave. But I can also see that the manufacturing planning is still ongoing and it's late. So Mike, you need to speed up in order to continue here. But let's click on this anyway, because this change object, it's just not an object that contains information, metadata. It also has a workflow associated to in the background. So you will be assigned tasks in Windchill. So when it's time for me to do something, I will be assigned a task. So here you can see my task here. And when he's done, you click complete and it will continue in the workflow to next phase in this process, which could be like a review task for manufacturing engineer, for example. So just quickly click on this monitor to show that behind the scenes here, there's a workflow that this change must follow. Yeah, let's switch back to my tank like this.
Great, Mikael. Looks good. Looks good so far for the demo. But just one thing that comes to my mind: can you easily just show how to find data? For example, find a drawing in this case.
Yes, of course. Yeah, that was one thing I mentioned: to find and to reuse object. That is really important. So you can say there are two ways of doing that. You can either browse, because all of the objects are stored in folders. So you can browse and find stuff in here. That's one way. But of course, there are also search capabilities. So in the top corner, right corner, you have some, you can say like a keyword search. I enter a keyword and hopefully it will find something. So now it finds a lot of things, but I can here drill down. Let's say that I would like searching for a CAD document of the type of drawing. And then I can find it like this. So we have a keyword search, but there are also other ways of searching. You can make more like, say, advanced search within here. And you enter this by clicking search here. And here you can add more criteria for searching. So let's say that I would like to search for all documents that is stored in the context of the snowmobile and is in the state of released. Search. Then it finds all the objects in that criteria. Or you can also save searches. So I've saved usable searches. So let's say I'll search for all the drawings compared to the documents I search for drawings, and I can find. And these tables, they show up in many places in Windchill, and they are configurable, of course, and you can search in them. So you can narrow down your search here if you like. So either browse or search. So
Great.
if I would like to go back to this product, the snowmobile, I would probably search for the number of it. And we find it like this. Great. I think the time flies.
It does.
I will be happy to show more, but let's jump back to the presentation and do some finalizing here. If I know how to do. Like this. Just shortly mention what's next. What will you do if you're sitting there listening and you don't have Windchill? How to proceed? Well, first, just like to mention, you should see this as a journey. This is not something that you will implement as a big bang. You should see this as a digital transformation where you transform from a traditional document-focused process to a more modern model-based approach, and really where you can find and trust your data. So what we do at PDS Vision, we help our customers to set up a valid implementation roadmap where we define activities and where we implement capabilities that will bring value to each phase in this journey. And typically we will start this by getting your data under control, so meaning basic PDM functionality. Next, we may support you in your processes and expand the usage to the whole enterprise, perhaps involving manufacturing or service. And from there, we can really expand the footprint of the PLM so that you can continue this successful journey. So please feel free to contact me or any of my colleagues if you like to get help on this journey.
Yeah, for sure. Time flies for sure. But I just have a question I want to raise. Miki, we work with different type of companies, different sizes. We got Core Power Ocean, for example, with a turnover of 6 million euros, and then we work with Electrolux Professional with 1 billion euros in turnover. Both have chosen Windchill as the PLM system. So what is your view on that? I mean, how can such a wide difference of size for this example still use Windchill as the PLM system?
Yeah, but I think that regardless of the company size or in what vertical you're operating in with your company, I think you're facing more or less the same pressure from the external market. Today's company, you really need to be more innovating, both when it comes to products and but also how you provide service. And you need to be, in order to get faster to market, you need to be more agile. You need to improve your efficiency in every step of these phases of the life cycle that I mentioned. And I think that Windchill is, and I know that Windchill is a good solution for this. It's a scalable application that you as a company can grow in. And we have many, you mentioned a few of them, but we have many small or medium company that find its great value in Windchill.
And going back to previous discussions I have with a lot of companies, it's usually this debate PLM versus ERP that comes to that brings up there's some discussions. And what is your view on this PLM versus ERP debate, if we call it like that, and where do you see the strength come into place in a PLM system?
Debate, but for sure they are both needed and they both play a critical role for manufacturing companies. But there are some main differences. ERP, which I would say is really good for managing repeated and reoccurring transactions, so based on the physical assets and the flow of materials. So that could be, for example, managing inventory, work orders, purchase, for example. Whereas PLM, and I hope I have at least try to explain it, this is more an object-oriented system that has its strength in the digital assets and to optimize the design and the collaboration around it. So there are for sure some areas that is overlapping between these two worlds, but for example, change or manufacturing planning. But I would say that there's a strength in doing some of that, or you should definitely do that in PLM because it's so related to the product data. But they need both is needed. They need to be connected and well integrated to each other.
For sure.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mikael. I guess we're 3 minutes past time.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, time flies when you have fun.
Shall we do one last question here? We have a great question here about what would you say is the biggest value or difference with a PLM system like Windchill compared to a more simple PDM system?
I would say that is the support of the processes. So the basic or the foundation in Windchill is the PDM, but on top of that, we can expand also and support the processes. And so that's one thing. And the other thing is that it will be used by the whole enterprise. So it's not just around the R&D and development. It's expanded to the complete enterprise. I think that's perhaps the main differences.
Great. And we had several more questions, but we will get back to you with answers to them. I think Mikael would personally like to answer them. And I would like to thank you everybody for attending today. And a special thank you to Mikael and Fabian for presenting today and hosting this incredible webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you.